9 young hikers set out into the frozen Ural Mountains in the winter of 1959. They were experienced, they were prepared, and none of them could have imagined what was waiting for them on that mountain. Hello everyone, and welcome to Tragedy Story. Today we're going deep into one of the most mysterious and heartbreaking tragedies of the 20th century. In the freezing winter of 1959, 9 young experienced Soviet hikers ventured into the remote northern Ural Mountains. They were strong, prepared, and full of hope for a great adventure, and none of them returned alive. Let us begin by meeting the 9 hikers and the one who survived. Igor Dyatlov was 23 years old and the leader of the group. He was a 5th-year radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute. Igor was intelligent, responsible, and deeply passionate about tourism. He had planned this route with great care. His friends described him as calm and reliable under pressure. Yuri Doroshenko was 21. He was outgoing and very athletic. He studied power economics and was known for his strength and positive energy. Lyudmila Dubinina was only 20. She was one of the 2 women in the group. Lyudmila was strong-willed and kept detailed diaries. She studied engineering and economics. Her writings give us a personal look into the trip. Georgy Krivonishenko was 23. Everyone called him Yuri. He was known for his sense of humor and was a good friend to many in the group. Alexander Kolevatov was 24. He was quieter and thoughtful. He studied nuclear physics and had a more serious personality. Zinaida Kolmogorova was 22. She was the other woman. Zina was energetic and full of life. She also wrote warmly about the group in her notes. Rustem Slobodin was 23. He was reliable and hardworking. Like many others, he was an engineering student. Nikolai Tibaks was 23. He had French roots and was known as Thibaut. He was skilled and well-liked. Semyon Zolotaryov was the oldest, at 38. He was a sports instructor who had fought in World War II. He joined the group later and brought a different energy. Some say he seemed a bit mysterious compared to the younger students. The 10th member was Yuri Yudin. He was 21 and studying economics. He turned back early because of bad knee pain and rheumatism. Yuri lived until 2013 and was the only survivor. He carried the weight of wondering why he survived for the rest of his life. These were not beginners. They were experienced Grade 2 hikers working towards the highest Grade 3 certification. Most were students from the same institute in Sverdlovsk, now called Yekaterinburg. They knew how to survive in the wilderness, or so they thought. The journey started on January 23, 1959. The group left Sverdlovsk by train number 45. From there, they took a bus to Vezhai, the last village before the deep wilderness. In Vezhai, they stumbled their road books again and watched a movie. They sent last message to family and friends on January 26th. Everyone was excited. The diaries from these early days are full of jokes, songs and description of the beautiful but harsh landscape. On January 27th, they began the real trek toward Mount Totten. The weather was cold and the snow deep. They skied through the forest of birch, fir, and cedar. On January 2018, Yuri Yudin turned back. His joints hurt too much to continue. He gave his friends some war gloves and said goodbye. That was the last time he saw them. The remaining 9 pushed forward as they made good progress despite the growing cold and wind. By January 31st, they reached the edge of the highlands. They built a strong cache called a labas with extra food and supplies for the return trip. On February 1st, the weather turned worse. Snowstorms reduced visibility. They decided to go up the slope of Khalat-Yakul instead of staying in the shadow of the trees. Khalat-Yakul means mountain of the dead, the language of the local Mansi people. The hikers probably did not take the old legends seriously. They were Soviet students who believed in science and planning. They set up their large tent on the exposed eastern slope around 3 in the afternoon. They cut a platform into the snow and secured the tent with keys and poles. Inside they arranged their backpacks neatly. They had food, a stove that was not yet used, cameras, diaries and warm clothes, but not enough for what was coming. The last photos show them smiling and working together in the fading light. That evening they cooked dinner and wrote in their diaries. One entry said something like, "We wonder what awaits us on this trip." Everything seemed normal. Then sometime after 9 o'clock something happened that changed everything. The group cut the tent open from the inside with knives. They did not use the entrance. They left behind boots, coats, food, maps, and almost everything else. 9 sets of footprints, some barefoot, some in socks, or one shoe led 1.5 kilometers down the slope towards the tree line. The temperature that night was around -30 to -40 degrees, with strong winds. At the edge of forest under a large Siberian cedar tree they built a small fire. 2 bodies, Yuri Kiroshenko and Yuri Doroshenko, were found there later. They were wearing only underwear. Their feet were badly burned from trying to warm them in the fire. High branches on the tree were broken, suggestions someone climbed up to look back at the tent. The other hikers tried to return to the tent for supplies. Igor Dyatlov, Zinida Kolmogova, and Rustem Slobodin were found frozen on the slope between the tree and the tent. They were in positions that looked like they were crawling back. Slobodin had a small skull fracture. The last 4, Lyudmila Dubinina, Semyon Zolotaryov, Nikolai Tchibeks, and Alexander Kolevatov, were found much later on May 4th in a deep ravine near a creek. They had taken clothes from the first victims. Their injuries were much worse. Dubinina and Zolotaryov had massive chest fractures, like they had been hit by a car with no external wounds. Tchibeks had a fatal skull injury. Dubinina was missing her tongue, eyes, and parts of her face. Others had missing eyes or damaged soft teeth. The water in the creek had affected the bodies, but many experts still find the damage unusual. Some clothes showed low levels of radiation. The tent was half collapsed and covered with snow when searchers arrived. There were no signs of other people, no strangle marks, only the group's own footprints. When the group did not return by the middle of February, friends and family raised the alarm. The first search parties of students went out. The military and police joined. The tent was found on February 26 by a student named Mikhail Sharavian. He described it as a half torn down covered with snow. Boots were piled neatly inside. Food and money were left behind. The search continued for months. Each discovery brought more shock. The first 5 bodies were found in early March. The last 4 took until May, when the snow melted more. The official investigation was closed quickly. In May 1959, the conclusion was a compelling natural force that the hikers could not overcome. The case files were locked away for years. The autopsies showed 6 died mainly from hyperthermia. 3 had fatal injuries, no alcohol was involved, the radiation was on only some clothes. The investigation ruled out attack by locals because no other footprints exist and the force on the injuries was too great for humans. Now, let us go deeper into possible explanations. Over the decades, many theories have been suggested. The avalanche theory is one of the most supported today. In 2020, Russian prosecutors said a slab avalanche hit the tent. The hikers panicked and cut their way out. A scientific study in 2021 used computer modeling to show how a slab avalanche could explain the injuries without leaving much debris. The slope, angle, and wind condition could fit. But critics say the slope was not steep enough. No obvious avalanche debris was seen weeks later. The hikers cut the snow platform hours earlier. Why would it slide so late? Another idea involves military activity. The area was near secret Soviet testing grounds. Some believe parachute means missiles or rocket tests created panic. Locals reported strange lights in the sky, orange sprays. Radiation could come from tests or from the hikers' own work in nuclear-related studies. Infrasound or powerful katabatic winds could create disorienting low-frequency sounds. This can cause panic, hallucination, and the urge to flee. The exposed ridge would be perfect for such winds. Some point to ball lightning or even UFOs because of the reported glowing orbs. One blurry photo from their cameras is often discussed, so it could be menacing. The Mansi people who knew the mountain were questioned, but cleared. No evidence of conflict. Wild animal attacks or internal arguments seem unlikely for such close group. Yeti or supernatural explanations come from local legends and a joke diary entry about a snowman plus 1 nuclear photo. More experts dismiss this. The most likely answer is probably a combination. Maybe a small avalanche or wind event plus panic in total darkness, extreme cold and bad session. The lack of full colors is what makes it so tragic. These young people had bright futures. They loved natural and explanation. Their parents fought for answer for years. Yuri Yudin never stopped wondering. The incident inspired books, movies, documentaries, and games. A memorial stands at the site today, and pass itself was named after Igor Dyatlov. Their story shows how fragile life is against the power of nature. It reminds us to respect the wilderness, value our friends, and cherish every day.